Good morning and welcome. Time again for another edition of Aviator World, your guide on aviation, aviation business and related issues. I am Udoh. Today, our focus is air safety in the new year and the revenue drive of the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, NAMA. Our guest this morning is the Managing Director of the agency, Mazi Nnamdi Udoh. Mazi Udoh, you're welcome to the program.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. We'll take a break for this report.
The issues of safety in the Nigerian aviation sector have been a major source of concern, considering recent mishaps in the country's airspace. This is more so that Nigeria is listed by ICAO as one of the 14 countries in Africa that has achieved effective air safety implementation.
I don't know of any African nation really that has safer airspace than Nigeria. There is none. It's such that Nigeria is actually given as a sample case when it comes to airspace and its safety measures. In any course, in any training, it's Nigeria. Nigeria, it's so good that Nigeria was asked by ICAO to take over management and regulation of 5 other African nations. That's super.
The Nigerian airspace is very safe and is ranked among one of the best in Africa, ranked among one of the best in the world. From the progress we've made in the last 24 months and even beyond, Nigerian airspace is very safe.
In recent times, air crashes in the country were said to have been caused by either ill fate, poor judgment on the part of pilots, or sudden technical hitches.
That an aeroplane had crashed does not mean the airspace is not safe. Are you sure that the load master that loaded things in that aeroplane loaded the correct materials? There are ways to manage hazardous materials in an aeroplane. Are you sure last minute that the forklift driver who was loading something into the aeroplane did the right thing? Those must also come under surveillance. Are you sure there's no human factor with the load master in balancing the weight of the aeroplane to provide a 3G? Are you sure that the pilot is in the right frame of mind? So there are a lot of things. That's why when it happens, we say, let us leave accident investigation to come up with a report.
Several reasons abound as to why, despite government's massive investment in aviation safety infrastructure, accident levels are still not at 0% as many Nigerians would expect.
We must realize there is a shared responsibility. There is a collective responsibility. Pilots are responsible, operators are responsible, regulators are responsible, government is responsible. And all this responsibility must work, which means that everybody within this circle must play his or her role. Otherwise, there will be a gap.
Government is responsible for ensuring that there is adequate infrastructure for CNS, that's communication, navigation, and surveillance. That is what NAMA does. The other aspect is the aspect that has to do with the aircraft and the airline operators. What are they doing? Government is not 100% in control of the aircraft. So what I'm saying is that government has done its responsibility.
It now behoves on government and its agencies in charge of the sector to do more as it concerns enforcement, fast-track the provision of an intervention fund for fleet renewal, and ensure that pilots update themselves on a regular basis.
Now, Mr. President, again, has graciously approved that. We're waiting for Central Bank to provide the fund for that to work. So in a nutshell, what that will mean is government will intervene by providing facility that is single digits. It's a 20 years lifespan, and that will allow the airlines to improve on what they currently have. They will expand the fleet they currently have. They will refleet the one they are using. The essence of that is to ensure that Nigerians have access to very good and safe aircraft that they should use.
The administration of President Goodluck Jonathan obviously has made a lot of improvements in the aviation sector. You can see it physically, you don't have to be told. Go to the airports and see the changes that are taking place. New buildings are coming up for terminals, runways are being resurfaced, additional equipment for safety and security are being installed, and human capital is being developed very seriously. Policies that are of global standard and best practices are being implemented in Nigeria today.
Although Nigerian aviation authorities pride themselves as having done so much to set the sector on good footing, industry operators and stakeholders need to play their role in complementing government's efforts at entrenching a sustainable safety protocol. Similarly, agencies of government responsible for making Nigerian skies safe must rise above sentiments in the discharge of their duties so as air mishaps that may be occasioned by equipment or regulatory failure are reduced to minimal levels.
Welcome back. Well, Udoh, tell us about the past year, that's 2013, as it concerns NAMA and the entrenchment of safety in the country.
A moment ago, you saw some clips. That was an amazing night. It was May 31st, where we transited from, as it were, a terminal and procedural air traffic control management to a seamless surveillance environment for area control. You saw me in that very ceremonial cap, which is traditional. In that program, there were past chief executive, Emperor Nasanya, ACA, ASI Makrele, Ghanaian director of civil air traffic control services came, and it was a celebration for us because it was an ultimate regional and continental event to transit from, as it were, a procedural air traffic control to a more efficient and effective safety mode of air traffic management. Okay. And that was the ultimate. And that started from the performance-based air navigation PBN to GNSS, that's the Global Navigation Satellite System, and all other initiatives that culminated into that final celebration of area control now in Kano and Lagos. The entire airspace is under one secured radar control.
Okay. Now, apart from the commissioning that took place in 2010 and this past year, what other achievements have can you identify as having recorded?
You must also recall that for some years there were issues of air-field lighting system, where some airports have to close on time, like Lagos, the domestic runway, Enugu, and of course we have to evolve modern technology, what we call scalable air-field lighting system that is rechargeable. That was deployed in December 2012, and from 1st of January 2013, aeroplanes have been flying seamlessly with a simplified and modernized approach lighting system to OneNet.
I remember many years ago, when certain airports, aircraft didn't come in at night.
Yeah, that was it. People build airports sometimes. Oh, let's just fly in there. And everybody goes to sleep and the thing is over. So airfield lighting systems sometimes indicate that the cost of providing that service is expensive because it's an independent cost. The runway, the civil works, the cabling, and so on and so on, makes the balance sheet of the cost of that airport very expensive. So at the end of the day, people just, we have a runway, let's just keep flying. Then suddenly you find out that you can't come in after sunset. And that is what the notice to airmen has indicated about the airport. Okay. But right now, all the airports are receiving attention, but these are major ones that have been done. Calabar, there were night landings there during the Christmas. Port Harcourt has been repaired, but now being improved upon to a certain category of category 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So it is with Ibadan, so it is with Akure and Ilorin. So these are Yola as well. We also have to remodernize Yola, and night landing Hajj operation was Yola successfully. Sokoto, and so on and so forth. But those are back-end things people really don't see. If you see a beautiful terminal building, there must be a strong fire service, strong meteorological, and strong air traffic management behind it. And these are infrastructures.
Okay, so apart from the lighting of the runway, the fire service, and all of that, what other things would you say NAMA itself, that's NAMA now,
of course,
the Airspace Management Agency has achieved?
But you know, when you talk about NAMA, it looks like, oh, NAMA does it a lot. No, for us in aviation today, it's like a social contract. Everybody has something to do.
Contribute.
They believe in aviation, they believe in the transformation. And one of the key things about transformation is a true north. For us, the true north is effective leadership that we're following for the country, for the sector, and for every agency, and everyone is one together. That's why MD of FAN can talk about NAMA, because he knows it's a roadmap, it's one road map. So apart from the things I have said, NAMA have also evolved a new wildlife, we call it wildlife and bird control system at the airports, using modern technology, sound, and some emission. I'm sure you must have been hearing about bird strikes on aircraft.
Okay, let me interrupt you. Of these now, which of them do you think you can carry over into 2014? Which of them is sustainable enough?
Just yesterday, the new pyrotechnics for walking or driving birds out of the airport arrived.
Okay.
It's being cleared out of customs today, and that's, for us, a huge one. The initiative to import it, because you need permission from certain quarters like the Nigerian Army, the NSA, because some of them sound like ammunition, but actually bird technology to scare birds from the airport. That's sustainable. Of course, we have calibrated our navigational aids in December, and in the next 3 months, we also have to recalibrate certain of those facilities that are due. Of course, calibration is a technical audit to ensure that these things are safe. Like I always ask people, what are your indices for measuring air safety? Oh, because one aircraft on takeoff lost control and stalled, then the airspace is not safe. Then I always refer them to go to accidentinvestigations.com, and they will see between January 1, 2014 to January 21st, they will find out how many incidences and accidents that happened outside Nigeria that are documented, investigated, or being investigated. That does not in any way correspond to unsafe airspace, and we'll keep emphasizing it. Okay, we must establish indices to measure the good regulatory environment.
Let me interrupt you here, because you're actually taking me to the next area I wanted to look at. The minister in the report we just saw did say that she didn't think there was any country elsewhere in the world that had safer skies than Nigeria. Now, are the skies in Nigeria really safe? What do you think?
You know, the minister, maybe you didn't quite capture it. She's always said, and we've always said, there is nothing like a destination in safety. It's a process. That's why I was glad you're talking about sustainability. That I did things last year in NAMA, or that we did things last year in NAMA and Aviation, does not in any way mean that today those things are available. You must sustain them. And that's why we talk about human capital development. Our air traffic controllers and pilots have a 6 months, 1 year, what we call simulator and recertification process. Is there. You must go back to.
How frequently do they have to do the
For the air traffic controllers, once a year, your ears, your eyes, your voice, tap, your brain. For the pilots, every 6 months. In fact, for the pilots, they must go in to do what we call simulator. We are introducing that. It's a computer-based, real-life experience of what you do, that passengers, you carry passengers. So, but we now make it possible for you to experience those things in a simulator, and we'll see how you react. So that is being done. So what the Honorable Minister was saying, that there is no country in the world in the last 2 years, that's why we are judged by the Council of Air Navigation Services Organization as the most significant improvement air safety organization. NAMA won the shield. And
congratulations.
Oh yes, and this is there. But it doesn't mean now I go and sleep because I have the shield already. But the shield has been taken because some other person has to win it. And you don't have to make the man to think he has arrived because it's a destination. What people have been seeing is the airports. I mean, for crying out loud, you were there with us. Those airports were not airports. If
What
someone,
were they?
there were some farmhouses. If you compare them today, you cannot have a dignified building today, and someone will say, hey, what is this? You can say you don't like the tiles. Fine. Next year, let's change the tiles. You can say you don't like the toilet. Fine. In 6 months, let's change it. But today, it is something you can show off to a guest.
But you know, I think that it's not just the structure we should be looking at.
Correct.
What about the runways? Abuja, for instance, is an international airport.
Correct.
How many runways has it got?
One.
Now, one runway. If anything happens, it means all flights are
Gatwick
closed.
has
Why?
one runway.
But that Gatwick is just one.
Yeah.
Heathrow has several.
No, Heathrow, as you know, is a major gateway, like Lagos. We have 2 runways in Lagos. If you will recall, why did we have a private runway in Lagos? Because Nigeria was expecting a president when our dear father, General Yakubu Gowon, was president. And we were expecting the Ghanaian president to arrive. And an F-27 from Nigeria was landed and lost a tire. It was at that point in time that the Supreme Military Council decided to revisit their earlier decision that we don't need a second runway because they didn't think it was necessary. The parallel runway for Abuja has been on the drawing board, and I'm sure that people are waking up to it with the recent little incident that people tried to, normally when things happen, we politicize, we call up government. But when it happens in other countries, you call the airline. And that's why you hear about shared responsibility by the airlines, by the passenger. As you're buying your ticket and you're checking in, there are basic safety questions they ask you. Some people get annoyed. Madam, did you pack this bag yourself? Do you have any sharp objects in it or any fluid? Some get angry, they don't answer. Thank God for technology. We screen those equipments. And sometimes we call down passengers to say, bring out this bag, we need to see it. Passengers are delayed. And nobody knows why they are delayed.
Okay, so those are some of the safety indices.
That are inbuilt by SCA and for customer service protection.
What other indices do you have to ensure air safety?
For NAMA, I've mentioned introduced regular classroom and
Training,
real-life
yes, and
training.
refresher courses.
We also have a monitoring position. In my office, it doesn't matter how busy I am, one ear is listening to the conversation. Of course, I can only listen to a frequency. But the supervisor in that air traffic control center listens to a frequency. Another officer listens to a frequency. And of course, these things are taped that when we feel we need to monitor, you can play back all those tapes, like the incidences that happen. The reason why we always tell people, wait and get a report is we take those things and play back and listen to the conversations, listen to the etiquettes, and listen to the awareness. If you call a controller 2 times and he doesn't answer you, definitely during the debrief, the man needs to let you know what happened. In fact, there could be no reason other than loss of concentration. And most of the time, poor airmanship is an issue for which, if you read the accidents that have been put online, you will see that play out clearly. So, and what is in public domain for us is to let Nigerians know the training and retraining and consensus improvement feedback. We give pilots things to feel.
Okay.
And they tell us what they think. If you fly from, say, Enugu to Jos, Abuja, there used to be a time there was a weak strength. Of course, we need to improve that place by putting a remote station in Wukari. Nobody knows that Wukari serves aviation.
Okay.
That's
I
the
didn't
truth.
know that
So
myself.
those are things that we say, today if you fly in Nigeria, you cannot say you have lost contact. You don't know where you are going. And if anybody also has a reason to say, oh no, out of Maiduguri, there is an issue, definitely we will address it. That's why we're here to serve. But
Okay.
and a program like this, as educative as it is, it also should bring awareness that we'll have a responsibility to
Certainly.
inform us, say, look, you need to look at this. And I get texts, and it excites me. But before, people would think it's antagonism or criticism. So I need you to begin to show the old interest you used to show. The management of AIT has taken you away from the system. So we need such feedbacks, and it's necessary.
Okay, we'll certainly look at that. But let's change the tack of our discussion now. It is not common that a government agency is not requesting for financial allocation in the budget. So, in your view, can NAMA sustain this?
Well, we need to begin to do things differently in Nigeria for different results. Maybe that's why if you tell me there's a land to buy, I'll tell you, please, I'm busy. Because there's no such money where I can take the money. Because by the time I finish training the engineers, training controllers, the aeronautical officers, comms officers, and I'm thinking about the new controllers I need to employ to send to a place like, say, the LNG airfield in Brass. Now, in Bonny, you know, all the private airports you see that are springing up, NAMA provides a private initiative air traffic control service there, and they pay us. We do it in Warri, we do it in Eket, we do it in all the private airports. It was before. Everybody was waiting for government. Yeah. So it is sustainable, but with a lot of physical discipline. You know, it's not about engineering or traffic control. It's all about management and leadership, which is how I started. It would be nice for me to have plenty of money. So I buy all the vehicles I need, I employ all the people, pay them 3 times like others, but it's not sustainable.
Now, you know, of all the agencies in the aviation industry, just about 3 of you can actually generate funds. You're talking about NAMA, FAN, and NCAA. Yes, so what happens to all the other agencies?
Well, what has happened over the years, which is some practice all over the world, there is when we say shared responsibility, there's also a shared dividend. When a pilot flies, where an airline flies, and the revenue that you pay for the ticket will get 5% of it. Out of that 5%, there's a percentage to NCA, there's a percentage to NAMA, there's a percentage to NCAT and AIB. Now, FAN doesn't get from that 5% because you pay landing to FAN. Okay. That's why also, when private airlines began to, private airline charter companies began to pour into Nigeria, and we looked at it. Look at the examples in South Africa, Dubai, and Brazil, and that's how it started. We now sat down and produced a robust general aviation policy and decided to put a fee for them to pay. People cried out, but now we have sat down with them and we are resolving it gradually because it's all about engagement for you to understand me and know that I need you to support me to provide you the service. If you're flying from Lagos to Abuja, direct radar air navigation service brings you 45 minutes to 15 minutes arrival time before 1 hour, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 15 minutes. So that money we have saved you, contribute a little bit so that services can be sustained. So
it's like saying that you'll be increasing fares.
No. Nobody has increased fare. The indices for increasing fares are there, and it's domiciled in SCA, even though we all partake.
Because if you charge the airlines more...
No, we're not charging them. We're talking about the charter companies. Who has it where we're not paying anything to me?
Oh, really?
They pay me 6,000 naira and they charge you $10,000.
Okay. Now let's look at this other different. You've talked about the need for sustainability and the fact that you would need financial discipline, maybe leadership, prioritizing all that. What happens when you cease being the helmsman of NAMA, for instance?
If I cease being the helmsman of NAMA, and nobody can do better, is that what I did, better than what I have done, then it means I wasn't very efficient. Succession planning. That's governance reform. Somebody must be dreaming, and when he gets there, he's going to do a better job than myself. Now, I'm doing area control. Assuming we don't implement the CPDLC that we plan, that's cockpit pilot, controller, pilot data link, and the ADSB, automatic dependent surveillance system for low-flying helicopters, and for strategy and surveillance for military and what have you. If I'm not able to implement it, someone taking over from me should not just be satisfied and doing area control radar. He should go on to those initiatives. So I must have some kind of true north leadership principle for everybody to be looking at. And that's why I talked about social contract. You hear people say, I love my country. I'm an American. I'm a German. People should be saying, I'm a Nigerian, and I won't accept that. I'm a Nigerian. I need to do it right. I'm an aviator. This has to happen. The airspace must be safe. For me, that is the dream. And I said this on the 4th of October, 2011, when I took over. That I need to dream a dream and leave an industry where my children, when they graduate, they come and fly in this airspace. As my son is flying as a pilot, he must be proud of his father. Otherwise, he will not want to see me. So anybody taking over from me must do better. When he comes on this program, he will be telling you about new acronyms that you haven't heard of.
Okay, let me. You just set the tone for my next question. What is it that your predecessors did that didn't quite sit right, that you are doing differently?
My predecessors did things right in their time. They initiated the radar. They didn't complete it. For obvious reasons, we won't talk about that. Project matrix in Nigeria is difficult. Money, environment, power, etc. I came. I'm keen into the things they have done because I was there. And I identified things they were not able to do for obvious reasons, not due to their own fault. Of course, you know, I believe strongly that any leader is been ordained by God. So whether he does well or not, God has allowed him not to do well, so another man can do well. However,
Do better.
do better. God bless you. However, if my predecessors couldn't achieve these things and I was satisfied in remaining as a procedural air traffic management system manager, then I have also failed worse than they did. And they didn't fail. Nigeria has had an aviation for 30-something years. And that's why I preach the principle. Whatever anybody does, let it be an improvement to the existing one. So that when another man comes, he will build on it. And by so doing, at 50 years, Nigeria would have been a lot better, rather than antagonizing. Let the feedback be positive for me. And that's what we're using this channel to achieve. Aviator World has become, every morning, people are, I pray one day we'll also be able to phone in. So that when we say things are not able to take, they can ask questions.
I'm sure the producers heard you. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being able to sit with us this morning. It was lovely having you in the studio.
Thank you.
All too soon, it is time to glide to a halt on this edition of Aviator World. We have been discussing air safety in the new year and the revenue drive of the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, NAMA. Our guest has been Nnamdi Udoh, Managing Director of NAMA. Udoh, you're welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Many thanks to everyone who has made this edition possible. I am Aviator. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Good morning.